Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Alice Hanov, the author and owner of the YouTube channel. And today, in honor of my book being released on June 14th, The Head, the Heart, and the Heir, I've decided to read you guys the prologue of the book. So get ready, settle in, and I'm going to read you the prologue for The Head, the Heart, and the Heir. Now available on Amazon and all wonderful places for pre-order for the paperback out August 2nd, and the ebook is now available for download on Amazon or Kindle Unlimited. So let's get ready. Oh, I also do voices because I have 3 small children, so yeah. With your father's temper, diplomacy isn't a strong suit, Princess Victoria said. Is Matthias joining you? He's waiting outside. We'll leave once I've resolved the merchant disputes. Are we packed? Once I return, we can load the coaches and head for Dayton. Elizabeth, are you excited to see Aaron and Daniel? Crown Prince Edward asked. Elizabeth. Sunlight shone through the second-floor balcony doors onto the polished throne room floor as Princess Elizabeth hopped from one lit marble square to another. She could see her reflection in each one. Her eyes sparkled like emeralds, and her wild chestnut hair bounced on her shoulders as she played her game to pass the time. When she landed on the last illuminated square, she looked up and smiled at her mother. Need more? Victoria asked, releasing Edward's hand. Her mother's emerald eyes flashed gold, and she waved her hand. A new path glowed on the marble before Elizabeth. Elizabeth giggled and resumed her journey across the throne room, ignoring her parents' dull conversation as best she could. Why didn't Matthias bring Percival? He's silly. Edward snatched her, planting a big kiss on her cheek when she jumped too close. Princesses don't run. Maybe she'll listen to you. I've told her 100 times, and she insists on chasing after the Dayton princes every chance she gets. She's only 4. When she comes of age, Victoria sighed, tucking a loose curl behind Elizabeth's ear. Might be easier to keep Aaron from chasing her. By then I'll be king, and my godson listens to me. Elizabeth clung tighter as her father shifted her on his hip. He kissed her before tapping his cheek. Elizabeth kissed him, and his black hair tickled her cheek. Excited for Dayton? Yes, Elizabeth replied, nodding. Edward pressed his forehead against hers and stared at her with his sea blue eyes. That's a pretty necklace you're wearing. It matches your eyes. It's not just pretty, it's very special, Victoria said. Elizabeth reached for her mother and Victoria took her. Edward kissed them both. Before he could leave, Victoria pulled him close, kissing him deeply. Ew, said Elizabeth. Are you all right? Edward asked, still holding on to Victoria. Just tired. We'll be here when you get back, Victoria said, putting Elizabeth down. Elizabeth looked up and Edward winked before he marched out of the room. She twirled around, trying to keep her skirt spinning. When she looked up, her mother's back was to her. She was looking toward the thrones. Elizabeth then noticed the guards were no longer there. She spun. The room was empty. Mommy? Elizabeth grabbed her mother's trembling hand. The great doors banged shut and her mother's hand squeezed her so hard it hurt. They never closed those doors. Before she could turn to look, Victoria snatched up Elizabeth in her arms and ran for the paintings on the wall behind the thrones. Elizabeth clung to her mother but peeked over her shoulder. King Arthur, her grandfather, stalked across the cold marble. He pursed his lips, furrowed his brow, and set his steely gaze directly on her mother. He looked like a monster. The torches in the room reflected off his sword's strange red blade. Victoria put Elizabeth down, hiding her in her flowing skirts. Victoria pulled a corner of the painting, and to Elizabeth's surprise, the painting opened, revealing a dark tunnel. Are you there? Victoria called into the darkness. A voice echoed from down in the tunnel. Yes. Elizabeth heard footsteps on dirt. Victoria picked her up, kissed her on the forehead, and placed her into the passage. I love you. Be brave. The painting slammed shut, leaving Elizabeth engulfed in near total darkness, except for the light filtering through the painting itself. She could see the throne room. Victoria ran her hand along the frame and whispered words Elizabeth couldn't make out. A hand suddenly gripped her shoulder and tried to pull her away, but Elizabeth fought as she continued looking through the enchanted canvas at her mother. Then Victoria's voice rang out. You're still holding that grudge, Arthur, even after I provided 2 generations for your line. Your revenge ends with me. You'll never find her. I've made sure of it. Victoria didn't run. She stood tall and proud. You assume I'm acting alone, Arthur snarled. You were always such a silly girl. I could never see what my stupid son ever saw in you. Other than your figure, of course. Victoria glanced back at the painting and nodded. Turning back to Arthur, she froze. In the next instant, there was a flash of red steel and the sound of her mother's body meeting the stone floor. Elizabeth couldn't breathe. She stared as her mother's beautiful eyes turned swampy green and a pool of blood spread out beneath her. As the scream finally left Elizabeth's lungs, a pair of powerful arms grabbed her and pulled her deeper into the black tunnel. And now I'm going to read you the blurb on the back of my book, so that if this is your cup of tea, you'll know to head on over to Amazon or my website and get yourself a copy. The headline is, "One princess secreted away, 2 kingdoms in peril, 3 will rise." Princess Elizabeth wants nothing more than to be reunited with her father, her kingdom, and her people. Instead, she spent the last 12 years in the forest hiding from her grandfather, who killed her mother while she looked on. Then the only heir to the Kingdom of Warren is discovered by her childhood playmate and crush, now the crown prince of the allied kingdom of Dayton, and everything changes. Her grandfather has died, which means it's safe for her to return to her kingdom in advance of her 17th birthday, when sorcerers like her manifest their powers. But the girl who now calls herself Alex is nothing like the lost princess the kingdom remembers. She's headstrong, fearless, and already wields powers beyond everyone's mildest imaginations. She can predict the future, control the weather, make plants magically grow, and manifest fire. Abilities which cause unusual things to happen when her emotions are heightened. As she struggles to gain control of her powers, Alex causes chaos in the castle, where she's never quite the princess they want her to be. When she uncovers the secret behind her lineage and the murder of her mother, Alex's powers threaten to destroy everyone around her, including her father, who hid the truth from her for so long. Alex doesn't want to be feared or controlled. She's not the type to stand by and let someone else decide her fate. But is she strong enough to turn her back on the only family and friends she has left? Happy reading.